We're rating every boss in Silksong. Let's take a look at 5 more. Of course, spoiler warning, this is the second set of bosses I've rated, and they all come towards the end of Act 1. Up first, we have the Sister Splinter. This is an interesting boss because it's really the first one where you have to deal with some crowd control. She spawns some small minions and she throws vines down at you that you can break. I feel like the point of this boss was to teach you to use your alternate weapons a bit more. The vines break really easily to some of your tools, and so you can clear those out and have time to focus on the boss herself. One complaint I had was that when you stun her, she falls from the ceiling and can land on top of you, dealing up to 4 masks of damage. Overall, she was a fun boss. Not too hard, and not as much spectacle as something like 4th Chorus, so I'll give her a 6 out of 10. Up next, we have one that I absolutely loved, the Widow. This boss was tough. I definitely died over 15 times to her. This boss's mechanic is that she throws big bells at you. The thing is that she telegraphs them just a little bit by showing these silk strands. This boss really feels like a dance. You're weaving in and out trying to get some damage in as you dodge her bells. She also has this dash attack that really reminded me of Nightmare King Grim back from the original Hollow Knight. That Grim fight was one of my favorite bosses of all time, and so even though this fight doesn't quite reach those levels, even being compared to it means that it's pretty good. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. After the Widow, I fought a couple of optional bosses, the first one being the Skull Tyrant. This guy's pretty standard. He has a charge, he has a jump attack, and he'll drop some boulders from the ceiling. Overall, not super memorable. I'll give it a 3 out of 10. The other optional boss that I found is this guy, the Savage Beastfly. He is starting to get quite the reputation because a lot of folks are running across him very early in the game. I was lucky enough to avoid him until I was a little bit more powerful, but he was still pretty tough. His attack patterns aren't too bad, he just has a charge and a body slam, but the real issue is that he summons a bunch of minions. I think RNG determines what type of minion he summons, and so you can get really unlucky and have him summon some pretty hard enemies. Overall, I'll give him a 6 out of 10. I think it's interesting design to put a pretty tough optional boss so early in the game and have the player decide whether or not they're ready for it yet. And then finally, we have the big final boss to end Act 1, the Last Judge. Luckily, her phase 1 isn't too intense, and she gives you a lot of practice to learn her moveset. But things get really crazy when you enter phase 2. She lights her bell on fire, and now every attack that she has a secondary fire component to it. Again, I think this is really great design where in the first phase you get to learn her moves, and then in the second phase they turn it up a notch. My only nitpick with this fight is that when you die, the run back to the boss is really brutal. Normally I don't complain about this stuff too much, I often find that the runbacks are overblown, but for this one you have to do some platforming and there are a good number of enemies that are a bit tricky to run around. So in a vacuum, I really love this boss. I'd give it a 9 or even a 10 out of 10, but because this runback is so brutal, I think I'll drop it to an 8. I'll look forward to fighting her if we ever get a boss rush mode. Follow for more as we begin fighting the Act 2 bosses because